Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, All Things Joy. For those of you that are new here, I'm Joy Harris Bird, author, producer, and lover of all things creative. Today we are introducing a new series that I am so excited about. It's called How to Write a Children's Book. It's the question I get asked the most, so I'm so excited to dive in. In this first episode, we're going to talk about the foundation of writing the children's book, which is finding your story. So grab a notebook, settle in, and let's get started. So inspiration is the first step in finding your story, and the possibilities are endless. You can find inspiration from your own personal experience. You can find it from a conversation that you have with a child. You can find it walking down the street. You can see something that sparks your imagination. For me, my inspiration came from myself. With my first book, Zoe the Great, I knew I wanted to write a book about bullying because I was bullied as a child. And I wish that I had something out there that helped me to understand what was going on and how to process those emotions, and that it was okay to feel those emotions. So when I wrote my book, I pulled from my own inspiration. And I usually do. For all of my children's books, you'll see a piece of me somewhere in that literature. As I've evolved, I've started to pull from the world around me. So it's not just what does Joy need to hear, but what does the world need to hear? You can also find inspiration in educational themes. I'm a former educator, so I kind of used to hear what the kids were going through and different things that maybe they needed to hear. Educational topics such as kindness, bravery, accepting differences. In my book, Different Like Me, it was one of the most impactful books that I wrote because it taught children how to celebrate their differences. So you can pull from those different themes. You can pull from an educational standpoint, like maybe lesson plans. What type of things do the children need to learn? Do they need to learn phonics? Do they need to learn math? How can you make that creative enough where it's engaging enough for the child to want to read it? So I encourage you to take a look at the world around you, what's going on, and see what's happening and see how you can find your inspiration. And once you find it, put that pen to the paper. So now that we've talked about finding your inspiration, let's talk about understanding your audience. This is so crucial in children's books because listen, writing for children is way different than writing for adults. And when I say understanding your audience, I'm talking specifically about your age group. So for example, picture books are usually targeted for children aged 3 to 7. And they want repetition. They want the bright, colorful illustrations to help guide them through the story. But when you start thinking about middle school books, that's typically for ages 8 to 12. And they don't necessarily need the illustrations. They can kind of handle more complex themes, and they're looking for stories that resonate with them. So when you want to understand your audience, you need to understand the topic of your story and who is going to benefit the most. So one of the ways that you can find your target audience is to basically just do your research. What do the children that are aged 3 to 7 really need to hear? And one of the ways that you can do that is by heading to your local bookstore. You can head to Barnes & Noble, which is my favorite of all time. I love Barnes & Noble because there's so many different books there that you can just go and find your inspiration, and then also understand how you should target the age group that you're looking for. So usually what I do is I will visit the children's book section, and I want to see what's on their shelf. What are they displaying? And then when I see what's on the shelf, then I'll go and look at the book and look at what the story is about, look at the complexity of the book, I'll look at the illustrations, I'll look at the storyline, and then I'll look and see what their target age group is. And I'll just kind of compare that to what I'm working on. So once I have that, now I'm ready to go. I'm like, okay, so this book will be perfect for 3 to 7, or maybe this book is a little bit more complex, so I'm going to make it 8 to 12. So you just kind of want to make sure you understand your target age group. I cannot say that enough. You don't want to put a complex book on ages 3 to 7, and you don't want to put an easy book on ages 8 to 12 because it won't do well. You want to make sure that you have your target age group set before you do anything else with your book. It's very important. All right, now let's talk brainstorming ideas. This is my favorite part of the process because you just let your creativity run free. So one of the brainstorming ideas that I do is mind mapping. So I sit down and I just let my creativity flow. So when I wrote Zoe the Great, I literally was sitting at my desk at work and I had this idea for a story that involved a zebra. So I just kind of closed my eyes and I was like, okay, what is this zebra doing? What does this zebra look like? How does this zebra feel? And I just kind of started developing the character and developing the setting, like who's in the story. Does she have any friends? Is both parents in the book? Is one parent in the book? I just kind of let my mind go free. I'm telling you, it helps because if you have it in your mind, when you get ready to put it on paper, it's so much easier. And that's really another brainstorming idea that you can do as well, free writing. So with free writing, what you want to do is grab you a notebook, set your timer for 10 minutes, and then just write. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about punctuation. Don't even worry about making sense in your story. Just literally write down everything that's in your head and just write it on paper and just go and write and be free and be creative. It's a great thing to do. It's a great brainstorming idea. Okay, so another brainstorming idea that you can do is do a focus group. If you have creative friends, that's a plus. Go to Starbucks, go to Target, go to their house, go to Barnes & Noble, go to your local bookstore, go wherever you can gather and just bounce ideas off of each other. Say, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think about this idea? Let me read this piece of this story to you. It's so important to have a group of creative friends that you can bounce ideas off of because you're just bouncing creativity off of creativity off of creativity. And it's such a vital piece to your book because they can really help you to maybe see something that you didn't see or maybe add something that you didn't think to add. So having a creative focus group is a great thing to do when you're brainstorming ideas for your book. And remember, your story needs to be engaging and it needs to be unique. So make sure that you're brainstorming something that is going to really be set apart from the other books that are on the shelf. You want people to walk in and say, this is the one that I want. So there you have it. Step 1 in writing your children's book, finding your story. We talked about finding your inspiration, understanding your target audience, and those great brainstorming ideas. So next week, we're going to dive into characters and developing your story. And this is where your story really starts to take shape. But honestly, I want to hear from you guys. What story ideas are you working on? What questions do you have? What are you getting stuck on? Drop it in the comments. Make sure you subscribe and don't forget to hit that notification bell. I am so excited, you all. Thank you so much for joining me and happy writing. Peace.